And that leads to, I guess, what is probably the most painful part of the process, which is the reorganisation part of the business, because the people that you met on day one are almost certainly going to be massive risk takers. They're going to be eccentric people. They're going to be wildly talented at specific things. They're not going to be amazing people in an ordinary, boring business 4 or 5 years later on. Because that's probably the reason that they're not in boring businesses at that point, right? They probably jumped for a reason. And so you're going to find that your founding team, the people that you trusted so much 3 or 4 years ago, are not maybe super well suited to the environment that you've then built. And it goes for me as well, right? It goes, and you do see a lot of founders that never want to be CEOs. I went through certainly a period about 2 years ago where I pretty much said to the board, whenever you found the right person, I'll step aside, right? I didn't need to be it. And actually the board kind of pushed me on to do it, and I've kind of come through a sort of a bit where I decided that actually I do want to do this job. But it's not the job of a founder, right? It's the job of somebody who essentially leads and manages and tries to motivate a broad team of people who are much smarter than you, doing much more complicated things than you do. So that means that you have to work out how you're going to find these great people different, interesting jobs, look at new opportunities, potentially move some of them out of the management team and into different parts of the business. It's complicated, right? Because you've got friendships. This is not quite the same as firing one of your associates when you're in a law firm. This is people that you've gone through a ton with, right? And it's tough. And I don't know anybody who's got to the stage that we're at that hasn't had to fire a friend or go through some situation which is pretty unpleasant, frankly. But that does get through to the last phase, which is what we now call the breakout phase. And it's that point at which you can kind of look at your business and say, most of it's broken, but there are a few things that are in a row. There are a few ducks that actually make sense. I can walk into the office in the morning and I know that the main job roles are being filled. There's somebody in finance, there are people in marketing, there are people in sales, there are people in operations, there are people doing stuff. It looks like a boring company. If I fall down under a bridge tomorrow, that boring company will still go on. There's an established board, there are established advisors. And of course that means that it's time to do it all over again. So we're now going through a process to raise twice the amount of money we've already raised again in the next few months, and then we will do everything we've just done in the last 5 years again in the next 5 years. We'll do it with some different people that have done it probably in bigger companies already, so they'll bring new experience that I haven't got. And our operations people will come from bigger startups at sort of Series D down to the sort of B stage where we're at, and they'll like that stage. And we'll do it all again. Whether or not I've still got any skin or hair left in 3 years' time, I don't know. But yeah, we've probably because such a element. We've probably made it through the kind of the most intense part, not the hardest part, but the most intense part. Since you're all lawyers and you're all good at talking, just somebody shout at me. Why are you interested in LegalTech, and what are the aspects of it that interest you?
As a former lawyer, just interested in how the space is developing as perhaps an investment opportunity.
Oh, okay. So you're looking not to actually be operational, looking just
I've been
the Bitcoin of the legal tech.
I'm looking for interesting investment opportunities, possibly interesting, synergies.
Right. Okay. AI opportunities that do exist. I think AI basically is about machine learning. It's not about AI in the sense that it's smart. It's about essentially somebody figuring out, hopefully yours because we're trying to do a lot on this, about figuring out how you structure data. So going into the broader world and saying, right, your company probably does lots of things well. It probably does very little well in terms of the middle and back office of the system, and it's probably got lots of sort of attempts to look good. It's probably even got a filing cabinet. But I'll tell you that none of your data is structured in a way it needs to be structured to actually run any kind of scientific thought process over it. So structuring data, both in law firms and outside of law firms, is the massive thing that's got to happen over the next few years. Someone's got to figure out how to do that on a big industrial scale. Because just going in and structuring it and tagging it and saying that this means this, that ain't going to solve the problem. Right? You've got to go in a big way and have a tool which can just say, right, you are now cloudified, your data is structured, here comes the AI bot, and then we'll fix your problems. That ain't going to happen anytime soon. Medium term, 2 to 5 years, I think charging models are going to be a bit disrupted. I think general counsels are going to fight hard to knock pricing down. It's not going to touch our world so much. But I think if you're a DLA Piper, if you're a Baker McKenzie, if you're a mid-sized international law firm, it's going to be tough over the next sort of 2 to 5 years for you. I think you'll probably find that your world is gone. and that there'll be a remainder of very small, super high-value boutique type law firms. So everyone from Denson's and above, they'll do well because no one's getting fired for hiring Allen and Overy. But you'll find that the guys that are now serving sort of mid-sized deals are going to have trouble because general counsel will have figured out how to get much, much better value for money, whether it's through people like Axiom, who are delivering lawyers at scale, or whether it's through systems that can, to some extent, roboticize what they do, or whether it's because they've made inroads into structured data and therefore they can just do what they do more efficiently, right? So that market, I think, just goes, right? Consolidation of the law firm, I think from that, you probably end up with maybe one or two kind of mega firms that start to figure out how they can deliver a mixture of services. Because of course, Baker & McKenzie and DLA Piper employ like 2/3 of the world's lawyers between them, I think. So there's some scope there for some people to do some smart stuff. I think it's a consolidation. And then I think longer term, the big issue, and you talked about it well, and I think it's the kind of watershed moment to think about it. It's long term in law is actually really just a generation of lawyers at law school. So if I'm going into law now and I'm 18 years old, I'm not coming into law until I'm 23, 24, essentially. That's a huge amount of time, right? That's 6 years. In our world, that's long term. In anyone's world, it's long term these days. So if you're at law school now and you're not studying technology, then how can you possibly hope to understand what it is you're doing in 6 years' time, right? So I think figuring out and making a guess, an educated guess on how technology supports lawyers and therefore what that role means is really important both for law schools and also law firms. And that for me would be the biggest concern that I would have if I had to care about it. Thankfully I don't, because I'm not part of the